Continuing today with Kosher Torah Kabbalah. So we're up to, basically, we've talked about Adamic race, Cain level of souls, and rectification, and how some souls split before the eating of the tree, and spiritual guides, higher selves, Metatrons. We also think of Metatron as like, some people say is Enoch, or Enoch, or Enosh. And talked about the challah of the world, which is the piece that's taken out. Challah in Judaism we think of as the bread, challah, but actually challah refers to the piece we don't eat. So it's really that all the souls are included in, and he's a piece. And Moshe was able to rectify what Adam could not. So that's just the summarizing, and I'm going to continue here. This is again from the Kosher Torah as the source. 4 entered Pardes. Pardes is the paradise, or there's 2 ways of looking at it. One is the pshat, the simple, direct, the remez, the hint, drush, where you could speak about it, I could speak about it, and then sod, the secret. So armed with knowledge of the blemish in collective human consciousness, which is Adam's sin, they sought to penetrate into the source to help influence a rectification of how collective humanity perceives the world. They wanted to raise the keter, the crown, prior to receiving wisdom, and then knowledge descends between the shoulders to the heart, to Pharaoh. 4 entered there, and I'll share about them in a second, but the mind is divided between the conscious and the unconscious. Some people like to call it officially, unofficially, right brain unconscious, left brain is conscious. We want to bring the conscious awareness. So while Ben Azad ascended above, he failed and he died. While Rabbi Akiva descended in peace from there, it was because, so one descended in peace because he sought internal meditation. Merkava is a chariot, ascend. Rabbi Isaac attempted to elevate Chassid Zeman, became so heavenly minded he wasn't earthly anymore, he was far gone. And Ben Zoma tended to elevate Gevura, the left side, divorcing behavior from any psychic or intuitive influence and just order and structure regardless of the inner moral compass, and he went insane. So the tikkun of mochin, the mind, has to be performed in the proper, right way. Rabbi Akiva didn't pull up the Sephirotic Sephirot, the sources, he pushed them up. He didn't pull them up like above, he pushed them up from below. Only by lowering oneself can we lift up a burden on our shoulders. He wanted to inject consciousness into the hive mind, and he elevated the chassadism and the gevurot, so the right side and the left side, of behavior, of feeling, ascending naturally side by side. Not just one, not just the other, not just far out into everything, into outer space, or so into the details there's not actually a connection to what is manifesting, what the behavior is. And we talked about the partsufim in another video also, where there's the countenance or the showcase, the metaphysical figure. So we have Abba and Ima, Zir Anpin and Nukva. Leah and Israel are like Abba and Ima. Yaakov is his name before he met the dark side, and Rachel, which is like the daughter. So we have Leah's like the mother. She had 6 children from Yaakov. Then he became Yisrael, and he also had the child. Rachel was actually pregnant at that time with her 2nd son. And so we have 2 versions of him, the father version of him and the son version of him. And we have the 2 sisters, one as the mother, one as the daughter. And silence is a safeguard for wisdom. So the power of redemption is in our hands. And in exile, the male and female are back to back. It's said that the Zeir Anpin, the like sun, is said to be asleep. When we look back at time, we can have example of like only the book of Esther, the time from Purim, after the Geula, the redemption, revelation, all the rest of the Torah, the holidays, the books can be nullified, and the truth of what will be versus being written down. And that's the idea of like Mashiach ben Yosef and Mashiach ben David. Mashiach ben Yosef is the hard work in the physical world. Mashiach ben David is the rulership, the leadership of what can emerge from there. So when we look back even at the Purim story, we could say it happened already again. Haman, the bad guy or the dark side, in the Purim story with Esther. Esther means hidden. We had a new version of that with Hitler. We say, his name be erased. Like Haman was a descendant from Amalek. And then we say there's something called the Ibor Gilgo, which is like a piggybacking reincarnation. It's possible for every soul to observe every commandment. Sometimes we need to be like impregnated with the energy that's of a higher level that didn't sin. Like mentioned before, peace that was taken out before the sin. Our personality orients us to a special school or path within a religion that chooses us, or we choose it, because the commandments are Kabbalistically requiring the intention, the kavanah, to be satisfied rather than just a ritual that's performed. They have to be embodied. They have to be spiritually like a glue for the body and the soul, which means the supernal worlds can be rectified by us. Supernal like above, but worlds like actually contained. Prayer and learning should be for the sake of influencing the collective rather than just seeing one's own needs, one's desires. I'm going to stop here and I'm going to remind that the supernal world can be rectified and we can unite and marry the Yud and the Hey and the Vav and the Hey, which is like Shem Yichud, the feminine and the masculine, the divine effluence with the dwellingness, indwelling, corresponds to the academic, psychic, cerebral functions like the negative commandments, the concealed thought, and then the passion and the action, which is like the positive commandments. And this can be like we interpret the Arizal, a blessed memory, the Rabbi Isaac Luria, symbols and metaphors either as semi-literally or psychological inner constructs within human experience that can be interpreted. And therefore we know the mitzvos become Yod Hey and Vav Hey, together, one, we bound it up, and women are actually exempt from many of the time-bound ones, like the timelessness in the Vav Hey, because we are like through the time. Our life comes through us, like a new world, like a time, a beginning and a middle and an end. And the pulse readings can be used also like for illnesses of the soul, sins, spiritual blemishes, because the life force energy in the body corresponds to the 10 spheros and 10 forms of the pulse and 10 vowels in the Hebrew alphabet. And I'm going to continue. It gets pretty interesting in my next video tomorrow. Continuing more about this. And this is also, as mentioned, this is Kosher Torah on the notes of the Arizal's 8 gates.